Do you think you have a choice when you vote? That by pressing the number of a candidate, you're deciding the future of the country? The truth is, it's all a big farce. The political freedom they sell you is just a rigged game, where no matter who you choose, the outcome is always the same. The system wins and you lose. Left, right, center. It's all one big act to keep you occupied, while those who truly hold power remain in the shadows, controlling everything. Today, you'll discover how all political parties are just different faces of the same coin, and how your political freedom is nothing more than an illusion designed to keep you trapped. They want you to believe that we're in an endless battle between left and right, progressives against conservatives. It seems like an epic struggle, where each election is a decisive clash between two completely opposing worldviews. But this polarization is just a grand theater. They create this division to distract you, to keep you fighting with your neighbor while, at the top, the rules of the game stay exactly the same. The truth is, while you're busy defending your political side, the parties, both left and right, are working for the same system. They make you believe that choosing one party over another will change something significant, but in practice, everything stays the same. The state machine grows, taxes increase, control over your life intensifies. And in the end, the economic elites, banks, and large corporations continue to benefit, no matter who's in power. Want a practical example? Look at the US government. Democrats and Republicans publicly fight, but when it comes to protecting big banks' interests or funding endless wars, both sides agree. The rhetoric may differ, but the results are always the same. What's at stake isn't the well-being of the people. It's maintaining a system that only benefits those at the top. This polarization theater serves a purpose: divide and conquer. While the population is divided, fighting over ideologies, the powerful keep controlling the game. Polarization isn't a reflection of true ideological differences. It's a tool of manipulation. Because deep down, both sides are playing for the same team. Every election, it's the same story. Candidates appear, promise change, talk about how they'll reform the system, fix injustices, and fight for the people. And what happens when they get into power? Nothing. The cycle repeats. Promises are forgotten, fiery speeches become empty words, and the system remains exactly as it always has. Politicians are just playing to the crowd. The real changes, the ones that would truly affect the power structure, never come. Think about it. How many times have you heard promises like, "We will end corruption," "We will reduce taxes," or "We will improve education and healthcare"? And what do you see in practice? Corruption continues, taxes only go up, and essential services are more neglected than ever. This cycle of empty promises is the system's greatest weapon to keep you in the game, making you believe that this time things will be different. But the truth is, when a politician comes to power, they surrender to the system. Even if they start with good intentions, once they're inside the state machine, they realize there's no fighting against the forces that control the game. Big corporations, lobbyists, banks, and economic elites shape the rules. And of course, if that politician wants to stay in power, they'll have to play by those rules. That's why, no matter who wins the election, the big structures of power remain untouched. Politicians come and go, but the government keeps growing. Taxes keep stealing your income, and the real decisions, those that directly affect your life, are made far away from the public eye. Everything stays exactly the same because that's the essence of the status quo, ensuring that nothing changes. The system needs you to believe that you have a choice, but the choices they offer are false. They maintain the illusion of a contest between opposing worldviews, when in reality, the interests behind the scenes remain the same. And while you wait for the next politician to deliver promises that never come, the cycle goes on, and you remain trapped. Behind all the political theater, there's an uncomfortable truth. Politicians don't have the real power. They are just pawns on the board, playing by the rules set by those who truly control the game. These figures don't make headlines, they don't give fiery speeches, and they certainly don't get directly involved in elections. They are the invisible elite, the owners of massive corporations, the big banks, and the billionaire dynasties that fund and shape politics from the shadows. While you watch politicians on TV defending their ideologies, this elite is always present, pulling the strings behind all sides. It doesn't matter if it's a left-wing or right-wing government. These elites remain in power, ensuring that their interests are protected, no matter who wins the election. They fund electoral campaigns on both sides, invest in lobbying to ensure laws are written in their favor, and control the big corporations that drive the global economy. Take banks, for example. In the United States, the largest banks finance both Democrats and Republicans. During elections, they don't pick a side because they are the side. They're everywhere. And what they want is simple: to maintain control over the financial system, to ensure the government always bails them out in crises, and to continue extracting as much as possible from those who actually work. That's how they keep control over money, the economy, and of course the politicians themselves. These elites don't play for the public. They don't need applause or votes. They control the system because the system was built for them. They are the ones who dictate the rules of the game, and politicians, whether they like it or not, end up playing along to ensure these rules are followed. And this isn't a conspiracy theory. It's a documented fact. The same corporations that fund electoral campaigns also control production, media, and major industries, ensuring that their interests are always prioritized. Want another example? Look at the arms industry. It doesn't matter who's in power, wars always happen. Billions of dollars are invested in weapons, and these corporations always profit. Democrats and Republicans talk about peace or security, but both approve enormous military budgets that benefit these companies. And who foots the bill? You, through your taxes. The invisible elite isn't affected by changes in government because they have a hand in both sides. They finance campaigns, manipulate laws, and ensure that the economy continues to work in their favor. While the average citizen is distracted by the illusion of party disputes, the real elite remains in control, untouched and invisible, operating the system to continue accumulating more power and wealth. And what if I told you that everything you watch on the news, read in the papers, and consume on social media is carefully designed to reinforce the illusion of political freedom? The media, which is supposed to be the watchdog of democracy, is just another piece on the board controlled by the same elites who dominate politics. It's the media that fuels the theater of polarization, creating the illusion of a war between parties, when in reality, both sides serve the same system. Look around. Whether it's on CNN or Fox News, you see a clear division, right? On one side, the progressive media. On the other, the conservative. But behind these apparent differences, what's really at stake is control of the narrative. They make you believe you need to pick a side, that it's your duty to support one party and oppose the other. But the real goal of the media is to ensure you never question the system itself. The focus is always on candidate conflicts and petty political battles, never on what truly matters, who's pulling the strings. And it's no coincidence. Major media outlets are controlled by the same corporations that fund the political parties. They decide what becomes a headline, what gets discussed in public debate, and most importantly, what never gets mentioned. If a politician or party threatens the status quo, the media marginalizes, ridicules, or simply ignores them. And when someone proposes a true alternative to the system, an idea that genuinely shakes the foundations of power, they're branded as crazy, extremist, or at the very least, dangerous. The media is a master at creating distractions. When something serious is happening, they throw up a smokescreen, making you look the other way. Corruption scandals are muffled, deep investigations into how the system really works are rare, and the fundamental questions about who controls money and power almost never make it into the discussion. And when they do, they're handled superficially, so the average citizen never fully grasps the real game. Want examples? Remember the massive bank bailouts during the 2008 crisis? The media was quick to cover the crisis, of course, but those billion-dollar bailouts were presented as necessary, while the banks that caused the crisis were spared harsh criticism. And that wasn't a coincidence. These same banks have direct involvement in major media outlets, whether through shares, funding, or advertising. The result: carefully edited coverage to protect the interests of those who truly hold power. The media isn't a neutral observer. It's an active part of the system that keeps you controlled. While you're bombarded with news about party conflicts, celebrities supporting one side or the other, or manufactured scandals to divert your attention, the real game continues in the shadows. And in the end, who benefits from all this distraction? The invisible elite that controls politics, the economy, and of course the media itself. They make you believe that by voting, you're exercising the height of power, that your choice is what drives democracy, that every election is an opportunity to change the country's fate. But the reality is much darker. What you see as freedom of choice is, in fact, a controlled choice. You're not choosing between different worldviews. You're choosing between two sides of the same system, carefully designed to ensure that power never leaves the hands of those who truly run things. Think of elections as a grand theater. You see heated debates, aggressive campaigns, and parties attacking each other, as if one's victory would mean the end of the other. But when the curtains close and the votes are counted, who wins doesn't really matter. The government remains bloated, taxes continue to drain your labor, wars keep being funded, and big corporations and banks remain in control. Democracy has become a cycle of repetition, where the same policies, disguised with different slogans, stay in place. Whether it's a right-wing or left-wing party taking power, the central structures don't change. Central banks like the Federal Reserve continue printing money and manipulating the economy. Giant corporations maintain their monopolies, and the laws that truly affect the daily lives of the population are written to benefit these same elites. That's how the system is designed. You get the feeling of choice, but not the real power to change the game. This isn't just happening in the United States. Around the world, modern democracy follows the same pattern. The political alternatives are limited to candidates and parties that have already been approved by the system. The parties that truly propose radical changes or challenge the status quo are marginalized or ridiculed by the media or simply excluded from public debate. You can only choose between the options the system allows, and any idea that genuinely challenges elite power is eliminated before it even reaches the main stage. The illusion of choice is the system's most powerful tool to protect itself. If you believe you're changing something by voting for a different party, or feel like you're part of a struggle between good and evil, then you won't realize that in reality, both sides work for the same interests. They make you think the problem is the opposing party, not the system itself. And while you're focused on defeating the other side, the rules that ensure the elite's control over your life remain firmly in place. In the end, modern democracy has become a theater where the plot remains the same, no matter who the actors are. They give you the sensation of power to ensure you don't question the rules of the game. You vote, you think your voice was heard, but the final result never changes. Power stays in the same hands. The illusion of choice is the pillar that keeps the system running, while those truly in charge remain protected beyond your reach. We reach the inevitable conclusion. The political freedom they sell you is a carefully crafted illusion. Left, right, center. It doesn't matter the label. All parties play for the same system. A system designed to control you, not to set you free. While you're carried away by this false sense of choice, the invisible elite continues to rule from the shadows, ensuring nothing truly changes. They go to great lengths to make you believe that your participation in the democratic process is the pinnacle of your freedom. But true freedom will never come from politics because politics is rooted in this system of control. No matter how many votes you cast or protests you make, the game will always be rigged to ensure that real power stays in the hands of a few. True freedom comes when you realize that this system doesn't work for you. It works against you. It comes when you start seeking alternatives outside the vicious cycle of rigged elections, empty promises, and parties that only change names, never their purpose. This is where alternatives that don't rely on politicians or governments come in, like Bitcoin, decentralization, and anarcho-capitalism. Ideas that break the chains of the state and put power back into the hands of the individual. The real choice you have is whether you will continue feeding this system that holds you captive, or if you will seek a way out. Because deep down, the freedom they promise you at the ballot box is a disguised prison. If you truly want to be free, it's time to stop looking at the parties and start questioning the system itself. Politics won't save you, because politics is part of the problem. So the final question is, will you keep playing this rigged game, or will you seek your freedom outside of it? The decision is yours, but the truth is clear. So long as you're stuck in this cycle, the control will always be in the hands of the same